Does your flash photography look flat? If so, it's not your camera, it's your light placements. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how 1, 2, and 3 light placements is going to give your images that glow, and how using strips, grids, is going to give you that pop for that extra rim glow. Alright, first things first, we're going to start off with a one light setup. And here I'm using my Godox AD400 and I'm connecting a 37-inch Octabox grid on the front, and it is going to be gridded. Let's get this turned on. Alright, let's grab our model. So for today's tutorial, I don't have an actual model per se, but I'm going to use my handy dandy rabbit. He has stuck in there with me and been my model for a lot of things, so we're going to use him again today. We're going to start out with one light setup. I'm going to show you what one light looks like, and this, I'm going to take 2 initial pictures with the one light setup. One with the grid and one without the grid. Now when you add the grid to your lights, what that's going to do is help to narrow your light. So where you can put that light exactly where you want it. So for the first shot, I am using a Nikon D850. I have my trigger here, my X1 trigger, and I also am using a 50mm Sigma 1.4 lens for this. My light setups here, I've got my main light, my key light is here, is a Godox AD400, and I've got a 37-inch Octabox by Godox on the front, and it is gridded right now. In the back, we have 2 strip lights. This is a 48 by 12-inch Tarion strip light, and it is gridded. And we also have a 9 by 36, I think, Godox on the opposite side. If you can see here, they're both gridded. I have a Godox SK400. It's a studio light that runs by AC power. On this side, I have a Godox AD200. It is portable, has a rechargeable battery. So that's the setup. So we're going to take this first image. The settings are, let me make sure what I set this to. I set this to shutter speed 1/200, f-stop is 4.5, and my ISO is 100. The light right now, the light power is set on 1/8 power. So let's go ahead and let's take a picture. All right. Looking at this picture, it is gridded. So as you can see with this picture, not too much light is hitting the background. It's all about the subject. Now I do this because I love dramatics. On a lot of my images, I want the dramatics. I want the subject to be the absolute spotlight of the image. So that's what we do, so we can narrow that light so it's only coming on the subject. Now with this one light setup, I use it sometimes if I'm outside or something, but most of the times in the studio, I'm going to have a 3 light setup. If you're familiar with me, familiar with my work, you look at my images, most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, it is a 3 light setup. So we've seen the example of the grid. Let's remove the grid and let's take another shot, and let me show you the difference. So the grid is attached by Velcro. Easily come on, easily comes off. And as you can see, it's a little harder to tear off right now because I hardly ever come out of it. I'm always using my grid light. And I also have another, alright, that'll be good for this purposes. I also have another light similar to that size that I use, and I keep the grid off in case I just want to just pop it off, put the other one on, and keep the grid on this one. So with the grid off, it's going to allow more light spillage. So if I want a little more light on the back to kind of show the green backdrop, I'm going to turn this light a little bit. I'm going to angle it more in the front and at like the butterfly angle. So it's going to also not only get the subject, we're going to get a little bit of the backdrop. So let's take a picture there and let's see what we got. Y'all can see the huge difference between those two. Huge difference. The first one we had spotlight on the subject. All subject. The background was dark. You can still tell that it was a green backdrop, but it was dark. With that, removing the grid, as you can see, we allowed more light to spill everywhere. And that's what, if you want that, that's totally fine. But also, with that one light, we don't see that much separation between the subject and the surroundings. That's when we will bring in another light. So I'm going to turn off the main light. I'm going to put the grid back on first. I'm going to turn off the main light, and I'm just going to shoot with the back two lights. I wanted to show you the importance and of the difference in shooting with one light versus all three lights. So I'm going to show you that one by one. We saw one light, so let me show you with the two backlights. Pop this grid back on. See how easy it is. All right, I'm going to turn these two lights on. And the thing with the grids for the edge light, you're going to want to center your lights around 45-degree angles toward the back side of your subject. So because they're gridded, it's going to narrow that light beam to the back of your subject. So once we take the first shot, you should be able to see that separation that it's going to give. So this light right here is angling right here. So we should get some light around this side. This one here is angling right here. So we should get some light around this side. I'm going to go ahead and position this light where I normally would, but we're not going to turn it on just yet. So on your trigger, if you have a Godox trigger, you can control which lights are on. I'm going to turn off E, which is that light on my trigger, because we only want the rim lights to show right now. So on my trigger, this light is E, that one's D, and that one's A. So we're going to leave A and D on, and we're going to turn off E. All right, so both of them are set at 1/8 power. I'm going to keep the same camera settings. So I'm going to step out the way, and we're going to take a shot with just the edge light on. And as you can see in this image, you can see exactly where these lights are hitting. It's hitting right here on the rim, what we call that beautiful rim light. That gives separation between the background and the subject. So let's turn on our key light and let's see what we have all put together. All right, now our key light is on. I'm going to reposition that just a little bit. Just like that, right in front of, move the subject back just a little bit, where the key light is coming down at like a 45-degree angle on the subject, and then we've got all three lights turned on. So let's take a shot and see what we got. Beautiful. I love this. I love this because it's doing exactly what I want it to do. It's separating our subject from the background, and it's also highlighting our subject. So we can still see that the background is there. We can see what color it is, but it gives more emphasis to the subject. So that's the kind of lighting I love. And just to add another little pop, sometimes I will use, a lot of times, I will use a top-down lighting. And when I do that, I'm going to bring the key light a little bit closer to the subject, and I'm going to add in a reflector. So when I bring the key light in, I'm going to angle it down so just the edge of the light is running across the top part of our subject. About right there. And to offset the shadows that this can bring, I'm going to add a reflector on the bottom floor so it can bounce the light back up and onto the subject. So here's my reflector. I'm going to add it just like that to give that bounce. So let's take another shot and let's see the difference. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show you an example of all three lights with the grid removed so that we can get more light onto the background. So let's remove that grid and let's angle this up just a little bit and toward our subject. Alright, the light will remain, the settings will remain the same. Let's pull this on off. Key light's going to be at a 45-degree angle to the subject. We've got our rim lights, our edge lights, at a 45-degree angle behind the subject. So let's take a shot and see what we got. Perfect. So we can see clearly that this is a green backdrop. We can see our subject, and it's not fading into the backdrop because we're giving it that separation with these edge lights. We've got our, remember we took this shot with our key light not gridded, but we remained the grid on the field lights. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that, but just know, once you understand how light moves, you stop guessing and you start creating. If this helped you, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Comment lighting below if you want a deeper delve into it. I'll see y'all in the next time.